is that it had some issues, as newspapers do. And my opinion is we should fix those issues. I think most of the people here agree. We should learn how to write better, how to report better, how to get our facts straight. And I think that a lot of that was being done in the paper, but we can always improve what we're doing. However, we can't put the messenger away. We always need the messenger moving. We always need them reporting. We deserve to be informed about what's going on in our village. That's how we keep each other safe. And this village is not just the student body, which doesn't have one voice. It has many voices. It's also the faculty and the administration and everyone who comes here every day for us to learn. That's why we're here. So I'm here to introduce our topic of rally and discussion and everything today, which is getting the Bulldog reinstated as quickly as possible so that the committee that is going to work on improving the paper will have someone to report to the community what it's doing, because what committee wouldn't want that?
So, hi guys, I'm Taylor. Some of you guys might know me. I am a co-editor of the Bulldog Weekly.
I'm Morgan, and also the co-editor.
Yes, so we're so glad you guys came out today. We're so glad that you're here. Yeah, we know that you guys might have some confusion about what's going on, and we also have confusion because we've been left out of a lot of the process. So we want to let you guys know that since this is the current step in what we're trying to do to get the Bulldog Weekly back, and so far it hasn't been above board in our opinion, it's really necessary that we're here. It's really necessary that we all talk about, accountability from the administration, who's, up to this point tried to distance itself from the situation. And I think that we all need to think about our organizations, our different organizations, and think about what problems we may have seen, how things have been handled, so this doesn't continue to be an issue going forward.
I just want to speak to this temporary hiatus and the action taken. So, we run the student paper, obviously. It's a student paper. We've been learning this process since we were freshmen, we were staff writers. As Maya said, it's a learning process. We make mistakes. Yeah, do we mess up a date or two when we're spending 9 hours every single Thursday in a room in the library? So, of course, we're going to make mistakes. So, basically what I'm trying to say is, I recognize that the paper isn't perfect. I recognize that it needs improvements. I'm glad this committee wants to make improvements with us. I really hope they want to negotiate with us. But putting the paper on hiatus was poor decision making. It felt punitive. It felt like, okay, you're not up to our standards, so we're going to shut you down. We have power. We're going to exert that power over you. And you're going to do what we say so that you can get it back. We feel like we're held hostage. I'm sure a lot of people feel like it's held hostage. Our staff, who's not getting paid right now anymore, is being held hostage. They lost their jobs. We lost our jobs. And yeah, ASUR will say it's temporary. It's a hiatus. You didn't lose your jobs. You'll get them back. But like, when? And what are you going to make us do to get it back? I'm concerned. Like, I hope to have faith in the committee. I really want the committee to do some good work. I hope we can all negotiate on level ground, but I'm concerned. That's what I have to say.
Open up. If you guys have anything you want to say, please come up here. If you have any questions for me and Morgan, let us know. It's open forum. So thank you guys for coming.
You guys may have seen this morning, we got an email with the name of the committee, the names of the members of the committee. That's been published. So this committee is happening. And so what we're trying to do here is to make sure that the students are able to get our voices heard within this committee. So we're trying to get, this is one of our routes to do that, and hopefully also we will be able to get this committee to be completely transparent and to publish what they're doing as they're doing it, at least the minutes of the meeting, right? Exactly what's happening throughout the process. And that's one of our goals. We're here to hear student voices.
So this morning I was perusing Unbounded Confidence by Larry Burgess, who is an alum. I'm the recipient of his and Char Burgess's scholarship for a student with moxie. So I guess we'll test that theory right now. And I was reading about in the 1960s when the Bulldog Weekly was fighting the administration because they felt they were being censored. And the paper was shut down, and it was a struggle that lasted for a long time. And there are pictures of students just like you sitting on the stairs just like you are now. So to me, that signifies that this has been an ongoing issue perhaps since the founding of this university, definitely since the 1960s, and is still something that we see here today. It's not a singular incident. It wasn't one staff member who made a mistake. It wasn't one issue of the Bulldog Weekly that somebody didn't like. It's not just happening now, it's been happening. And my biggest fear is that it will keep happening. Because we protect what we value, and we value what we understand. And you are all sitting here right now, which means to me that you value free speech and student voice and students' rights to have opinions regardless of who thinks those opinions are accurate or representative or not. And it shows me that maybe throughout time the administration of this university has not understood the importance of student free speech, and therefore they haven't valued it. Instead, they value what we look like to the outside world. And I don't know if I feel comfortable moving forward at an institution who cares more about the people coming in after me or the people who have left who have money to donate than they do about what I have to say about where I go. Woo! Because the frickin' motto of this school is dare to be different and we'll fit right in. But what if I don't want to fit in? What if I want to stand out? What if I want to speak out? What if I don't like what I see when I look on the University of Redlands website, where there's a whole section on the Bulldog Weekly temporary hiatus specifically for prospective students who might be worried that they'll go to a school that's a little too radical for them. So I just wanted to say that I thank you for understanding, for valuing, and for protecting the Bulldog Weekly, for being here, for not letting anyone silence your voice, because it shouldn't be free speech except for blank. Or you can say whatever you want except not that. Or we care about you except when you do this. Or but, except. Whether or not the committee comes to fruition and gets what it wants to be done, let's not stop having this conversation. And let's not let this go away just because it gets fixed. Because in another 50 years, students still might be sitting on these stairs demanding to be heard.
Those of y'all going to class, don't do it, come up here. You'll have class next week.
But will you have a paper?
But will you have a paper? I was happy to hear about the committee. Better late than never. I was looking at the email that went out about an hour ago that talked about the committee and the committee's objectives. One was to, quote, ensure journalistic integrity. Integrity is defined as the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. A synonym would be genuine. Genuine journalists listen to the people, analyze what the people say, and report accordingly. I have a question for the committee and everybody here, but more specifically for the committee. And that's, how long does it take you to reinstate or let alone instate your own integrity?
I'm a staff writer for the Bulldog Weekly, I suppose, and also a member of the committee. And besides just thanking you all for being here and realizing how much support we actually have, if you wanted to make a promise to the camera or to anyone, I think it would be to read the Bulldog Weekly when it comes back. I'm sure you all read the emails and the press releases and whatever, talking about print runs with unread papers almost as big as the print runs themselves. Whether or not that's always true, I think that when it comes back, which I know it will, because we're going to ensure it does, reading it all the time, supporting it, and finding out what your student newspaper has to say would probably be the most important thing for us. So thank you so much for coming.
And if this is meant to go to the committee meant to reinstate the Bulldog Weekly, I just want to say to them that I believe in you guys. And that there's a lot of good people on this committee, there's a lot of good people in ASUR who I don't believe really want the demise of the paper. And I just don't want that to get lost in our process. I want this to be more of a unifying kind of exercise instead of a dividing one. I think we can all kind of agree with that. There are definitely areas of the paper that we can improve, and we've definitely acknowledged that. And I like to say that I hope that we do come back and read the paper and hold our writers accountable, especially if they're being paid. I know this is a student-led paper, but I am of the thought if you're being paid for a position, you should be held up to a higher standard. At the same time, like as we are all here, I do have some problems with the paper being put on hiatus. And I just wanted to say that I hope that we use this time of hiatus and this time of protest as more of a unifying exercise instead of a dividing one. I think there's a lot of good people on both sides that really want the best for the paper and the best for the students.
This is a university. You know, this is a place where learning is supposed to take place. And when something like a student newspaper has its funding cut, the learning process changes drastically, right? It's not a process of we're learning how to improve a paper, we're learning how to learn from our mistakes. We're learning how to do this and to organize and to get all of these people here to bring back something that maybe didn't need to be shut down in the first place. But I think what's important now is looking towards the future. And so we've talked to the editors. I've talked with editors of the Bulldog Weekly, and they say that they can, if the Bulldog gets reinstated, that they can start publishing by their 12th issue, which is on February 6th. And in my mind, that should happen before or while this committee is happening. While the Bulldog is being improved, we can be writing, we can be reporting on the improvement process.
Woo!
It seems to me to be, at its heart, an issue of checks and balances, right? Of ethics. That if this committee is being made with no one to report on it, and they're deciding on the future of the newspaper, it seems like there's something a little bit off with that, if that makes sense. And so I think that's just a really important thing, that this should be happening. And I think the other thing that I really want to say that we need is full transparency on the part of this committee. Part of the problem that this has been blown out of proportion in the first place, and I'm sure ASUR will agree, is that there hasn't really been a communication between everyone. And so the editors are confused, and we're confused, the students are confused, and if this is a university with a goal for learning and teaching and all of this stuff, we shouldn't be keeping students out of the process. We shouldn't be having this closed committee that we don't really know how this process is being made, and it's keeping students who are passionate and who have things to say out of the loop. And I think inherently that's a problem.
Let's talk a little bit about Soviet parliament. Many of you may not know this, but the Soviet Union had elections. Open elections with secret ballots too. There was just one little problem. You could only run in them if you were appointed by the party. The Soviet Union had this system of free and fair elections to create a democratic system of Soviets that claimed to speak for the voice of the worker, so the worker would not have to speak for themselves. Oftentimes here in my tenure at this university, the administration or ASUR claims to speak for the voice of the students. and I often feel like they speak for the voice of the students in the same way that the Soviet Parliament spoke for the voice of the worker. So coming out here, we are expressing that we have our own independent voice, and that we value having outlets that can express that, like the paper. And even if the paper is imperfect, even if it makes mistakes, it is a critical organ of independent student thought and expression, important thing to protect if we don't want to find that the only people to speak for us is Soviet Parliament.
Try and think about this progressive university that we go to. Let's not funnel this energy that we have towards a beautiful idea of not believing in censorship, of believing in freedom of speech. Let's funnel this energy not towards the administration, not towards this group of ASUR students who some of us claim are our enemy in this conflict. Because they, just like us, are thinking progressively. And they, just like us, want the best outcome for the paper. Their methods of going about, bringing about what they think is best is a little, we're here to talk about that today. But let's funnel this energy of saving our paper in a positive way. Let's not confront people and try and get something out of that. Let's meet them halfway. Let's discuss our belief of the freedom of speech, our disgust with censorship, let alone from a private university, President. So boys, girls, people, human beings, whatever you call yourself, I believe, and we all believe, in moving forward with this. So let's not confront someone and try and beat them. Let's work with them. Let's work together. Let's move forward. Let's progress.
There's misconceptions, right? That's a lot of what this has turned into. First and foremost, this wasn't a decision of administration. This wasn't a decision, put forth, or an idea put forth by them. This was a decision of ASR Cabinet, which is a group of 18 students who are appointed by me. It's a group of 18 students appointed by me, confirmed by the ASR Senate, which is elected. It was the ASR Senate that voted to create the committee, and this is a committee that we proposed on December 11th. It's taken a while to get it formed because we wanted to get the right people. We've been waiting on both sides for information on who's going to sit on it, and now it is. And now it's great because we want to start it immediately as possible, as soon as we can. When Maggie said she was nervous, I was thinking to myself, oh gosh, how am I going to fare? Moxie. The point is this. There are issues. It's not a matter of censorship. We're never trying to censor. There are issues with fabrications, there are issues with misquotes, and yeah, people make mistakes. We make mistakes all the time. We're human. I think it was Hannah Montana said we all have those days. Right now, it's just we're trying to find a medium for us to come together and work to create a better paper. We're thinking about moving online. That's what we'd love to do because there are hundreds of unread papers on a regular basis. Moving online gets a better audience, it is sustainable. ASR is really committed to sustainability, and the whole university is, the whole center for it. A lot of public refueling stations, by the way, coming in next week. That's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to create a system. We're trying to create a better paper for everyone, one that will last. There's a precedence for this. The same kind of thing happened in 2008. As long as I've been involved in ASUR, which is 3.5 years, there have been issues with ASUR on the newspaper. This year we're going to stop those. I'm completely committed to making a sustainable system where we do stop those issues. I'm excited for everyone to work together. Denise Davis and Hal Gordon, who's the executive director for clubs and organizations, will be leading the committee. There's going to be an open dialogue. We're going to get it right. There's also going to be workshops for teaching journalistic skill or different ideas about journalism or community outreach for the writers this semester, so they do get paid. We don't want anyone not to get paid. ASR pays salaries for plenty of students. We don't want to prevent anyone from actually having their paycheck because they're college students and we need it. That's going to happen. It'll happen in due time. The committee just has to meet, and now that it's finally formed, we can. That's my piece. Thanks.
Thank you, Adam. As Adam said, I'm Denise Davis. I'm the Director of Leadership and Involvement. I work up in SLIC and Student Life. I'm also a Johnson alum. I graduated in 2006 with a degree in social psychology of gender and multiculturalism for social change. So I spent a lot of time studying and teaching in the last several years exactly what you're doing right now, which I love. You know, I love a good protest or a good rally, although I have to admit I'm a little confused about this one, because I think that we're all on the same page here. The signs that say bring back the Bulldog Weekly, that's exactly what we're trying to do. And as someone who's probably worked close to the most on this issue every day for the last several months, I can tell you it's something that we're taking very, very seriously. I should also note that I wrote for the Bulldog Weekly as a student for 2 years. It's a publication that I have up in my office. If you come visit me in Slick, you'll see that. It's something I'm very proud of and something that I'm looking forward to reinstating as quickly as possible. And working with this great committee that we've assembled, thank you to the people who volunteered to be on this committee. I know it's a lot of work and time, and I appreciate you all jumping in to this hard work that we need to do together. The questions about transparency, you know, that's obviously up for the committee to decide. We haven't met yet. We meet this Friday for the first time. There will be, I want to highlight, there will be 3 writers from the Bulldog Weekly on the committee. So if you're worried about transparency, if you're worried about ASUR, and don't feel like you can come and talk to us, there are 3 representatives from your student newspaper on this committee. I want to point that out. Beyond this, I just think that it's great to see so much support. We've been talking the last couple of weeks about this is potentially the best thing that could have happened to Bulldog Weekly in terms of getting people interested, engaged, wanting to support it, and getting the readership up. So thank you so much for coming out today. Feel free to email me, although there are a lot of those right now. Feel free to come talk to me in person. That might be even better. I'll get you a quicker response. And instead of the protest, let's have some good conversations where we're asking questions. Thank you.
The paper, and without consulting its expert advisor already in place, Erin Aubrey Kaplan, who has been neglected, ignored, and dismissed from these proceedings. I stand here today to ask you to do one thing, and that is to question authority. Woo! Yours is a student newspaper, but the news in it goes out to all of us in the campus community, so we are all joined together as the victims of the abusers of power on this campus. I ask you to question the authority when an elected official punishes the newspaper for a dissenting view. I ask you to question the authority of a university student life department which covers up one poor decision with further dirty tricks. A university student life department shall have moved out newspapers from their place of circulation to hide the information within them. This is your student newspaper, and the president and senate you elected are now the outgoing officials. They have broken trust with you. They have acted in unjust ways. You can question their authority, and you can do more. You can censure elected officials if they abuse their power. You can question their authority, and if it comes to that, you can impeach them. You have the power if you only ask the questions. Question authority. No employee of student life has a job forever. Question authority. Are these employees of student life serving your interests best? Question authority. Ask if the employees in publicity and marketing are printing the truth. Ask about the lies and the cover-ups and the dirty tricks that brought us to the place today. Question authority, my friends, and then get busy campaigning for student senators and a student president who will clean up this mess and act with justice. And if you arrive at the place where you are in authority, I beg you, question yourself. It is the case, as Martin Luther King says, and I repeat, on the day after our national holiday celebrating his achievements, no lie lasts forever. Question authority. Thank you.
I just thought it was important that I, as a member of Senate, got up here and spoke in my solidarity with the newspaper. I want to say that as a member of ASUR Senate, I do not condone our administration, under the guise of cabinet, censoring our paper and I want to touch on Senate's role. We were not confronted with the hiatus until after the fact, when the school began to protect their image, and our only vote was whether or not to create the committee. I also do not condone the attempts of cabinet and admin to turn our attention away from the Hunsaker article, because this hiatus does not only stem from misrepresented sports scores and incorrect dates, and we have to focus our attention on the Hunsaker article and this censorship. It's not just about incorrect errors in a student newspaper. That's all.
So one of the things I'd like to briefly touch on is I think there's a lot of excellent points. The newspaper was suspended, and that means that we don't really have a venue to criticize the process by which we're going about reinstating the newspaper. Yeah. This process of transparency, the fact that it hasn't had any is really suspicious to me. Why is there a reason not to be transparent with something so simple? Hopefully that'll be answered in this process of the committee, but for now we should simply reinstate the paper. And the reason why this committee is important is we're not just looking at now. Now is not the only thing about this paper. We need to create a paper that is independent for the future as well, because it seems like we've got a history of this whole process of the paper being shut down and then fighting to reinstate it. So we need to make sure that we can continue to have a venue to criticize the institution of the university, because that's necessary.
And so I'm just here to remind you about a publication that I published called the Mentone Special. We're interested in hearing what you have to say. We're a less restrictive forum than the Redlands Review or the Bulldog Weekly. Please submit at mentonespecial@gmail.com. And it's really inspiring to see everybody out here today, because censorship is something that I am sort of fundamentally opposed to.
So we're all paying a lot of money to go to this university, and we're all going to be in debt for a very long time.
Forever!
Right, because we're going here. And I think the university has to recognize and respect that and treat us with a little more respect. The fact that there has to be this much opposition and antagonism for such a small thing as a student newspaper at a liberal arts university makes me embarrassed to go here.
I'm a student here, so when I come to a school, I expect to make mistakes, and I expect that people over me and the ASU or cabinet who's supposed to be representing me understands that we make mistakes, even though I'm not part of the newspaper. And then so when something is done, shut down so abruptly and without notice, it makes me look like the people who shut it down did it out of anger. And if that's not the case, then maybe you should communicate that better. Maybe you should take the time to let us know, oh, at this point something's going to stop, or at this point we're going to make changes, not just stop it abruptly without letting anyone know, because it made it seem like, oh, we're going to stop this and wait to see how long people notice if we're without their paper. And it didn't take long. Don't make no sense.
Issue that we have been talking about a little bit, that it's very expensive to upkeep a newspaper, and I agree. However, I don't think that the best way to solve that problem is necessarily to shut it down, and I think that we can make less copies of the newspaper, or we can stop running the sprinklers. Another thing is that I feel like it's really hard for ASUR cabinet to represent all of us. There's only 18, 19 of them, and I think that they do deserve a little bit of credit for what they do, but also I think that there should be some more open dialogue between us, because personally, I have never met a lot of them, and so I don't feel like they can represent my voice because they've never heard it.
Well, but I just wonder why the university and everyone involved at an institution of learning, we're at a university, we're here to learn, and we don't have the opportunity to do that and write what we want to say, and say it how we want to say it, and learn as we go about doing that. And I'm also concerned about if there's this issue about the finances behind the paper, why can't it go online? Why can't it go online? Edits can be made instantly. You can instantly learn from the mistake that you're making. I'm just wondering why that hasn't been put on the table yet.
So the thing about this committee, as some people have brought up already, is I don't feel like it's in the best interest of the Bulldog Weekly right now. I hope it reaches that point when we talk. I hope, the people really do want to give us some independence, and they really do want the student voice reflected, but they're trying to institute a class to teach us how to be journalists, which, it could work, it couldn't work. I don't know how easy it's going to be at the involvement fair when we're like, hey, come join our club, but you have to take this class. I don't like the fact that Erin Aubrey Kaplan, our advisor, we asked if she could be on the committee, and without informing us, they booted her off. She did not appear on the list of names that we were given that was on the press release, and I didn't find this out from ASUR. I didn't find this out from Student Life. I found this out from a random guy at the Commons who has a friend in Senate or something. Which, you know, that also speaks to the lies don't last forever, right? Try to keep things under wraps. You try to tell Senate, don't tell anyone this is confidential. It's gonna get out. Transparency is the way to go. That's why we've been transparent. But ask for ASUR to do the same thing. Student Life to do the same thing. More than just this press release that's saying, hey, look, we're being transparent. Be transparent. Talk to us about this committee. Don't leave us hanging for 3 weeks. Don't not respond to us and then suddenly respond with, oh, I thought these were the names you gave us for the committee. Don't confuse us like that. Don't act like we're not the co-editors of this newspaper. Don't act like we're just other members of the committee that don't deserve to be informed of what's going on behind the scenes. That is my frustration with communication. I agree that communication has been a big issue. I would like for ASUR and Student Life and everybody else involved in the hiatus of this newspaper to step up and be honest.
You guys all again so much for coming out. It's been really difficult for me and Morgan as we're just students, and we also have, you know, a whole staff to be concerned about and their jobs and whether they're getting paid or not. And it's been very frustrating throughout this entire process, being cut out of decision making and being not communicated with, basically. I think that at every stage, including the forming of the committee, me and Morgan haven't been communicated with. It's interesting because at the meeting that we had on December 11th, was it, last year, we brought up the issue of communication and thought that that was really the thing that was the problem here, not our journalistic quality, these small issues that we could have run corrections for and issues had the ASUR cabinet or the ASUR president been reading the paper throughout the semester, which they admitted they hadn't. We really think it's important that you guys demand, you know, a higher standard of communication and transparency from not only ASUR cabinet, who are students just like us and are doing their best, but the administration, who has shamefully, in my opinion, tried to distance itself from this situation. I think that among certain issues that we've all been concerned with, like water, things that the Bulldog Weekly has been writing about last semester, the university has been going an interesting way with a lot of things, a lot of decisions that have been made in the past few months. And for those of us who have been here for more than a few years, I think we're all noticing the changes. So I think that it's important that we're here and that we don't let people walk into our space of resistance and tell us that everything's fine and that the process will be taken care of and that the administration has it all under control and that ASUR cabinet's totally above board, because that's easy for them to tell us that everything's going to be okay. But we know better, and Morgan and I know from this situation that that hasn't been the case so far, so we have no reason to believe that it's going to be the case going forward. So I want you guys to all keep this in your mind. This is not the end, and we will keep you updated as best we can.
You guys, thank you so much for coming. We got a lot of people out, and that was incredible. We're gonna find a way to keep everyone updated. Keep your voices heard. I mean, you know, the names of the committee have been published. Talk to them. Talk to, you know, talk to us. Talk to Morgan and Taylor and I, and we're gonna make something happen. So thank you all.